Hey everybody, welcome into our NBA TV studios. It's game time. I'm Kristen Ledlow alongside the NBA champion Steve Smith. We're days away from the WNBA All-Star Game. Are you excited?
I'm excited. It's in Vegas.
That's right.
There you go.
That it is. Let's take a look at the rosters though, because this is a game featuring Team Deladon versus Team Wilson. The game is Saturday at Mandalay Bay, as mentioned, and Elena Deladon and A'ja Wilson were voted team captains by the fans. Unfortunately, Wilson will be replaced due to injury, with Napheesa Collier serving as her replacement. But the All-Star draft took place earlier Tuesday night. So as you look at these teams, who stands out? Who has the edge?
I'm going Team Wilson.
All right.
She picked a couple of teammates that play for Las Vegas, so they're used to Las Vegas nightlife.
Yeah, true. You don't think about that as being an edge, but it has to be, especially during an All-Star weekend.
Tasha Howard can do a little bit of everything, and Allie Quigley can really shoot the three. She's leading the league in three-point makes, but also in percentage at 47%. So I'm giving the edge to Team Wilson.
And you think perhaps that a player like that would have an edge with the way that All-Star games are played, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, elsewhere in Las Vegas, the USA men's national team will participate in training camp later this summer. But the roster is slowly dwindling, with notable players, including all of these: Anthony Davis, James Harden, Bradley Beal, Eric Gordon, CJ McCollum, Tobias Harris, Damian Lillard, and DeMar DeRozan, having all withdrawn. Why, Smitty, are we seeing so many withdraw? And at this point, should we be concerned?
Yeah, I think so. I think the reason why is, and I can't speak for none of these guys. They have different reasons, but the season is so long. And I think right now is a lot of those guys are looking at their health and looking at the timing of this, USA basketball offseason. It runs right up until training camp. I mean, we're already almost in August and they haven't started yet. So this team will be playing way close up into, the season and training camp, and I think that's a big factor.
So essentially you're deciding at this point to end your off season starting next week?
Yes.
That's a tough decision.
That's a tough decision. And obviously there's so many other talented guys that will get an opportunity. But I think for the USA, you want to still have that dominance. We still got to go in there and win, which I think we will. But this is names and good guys where it's for sure we win. Now it might be just a little bit of a tougher matchup.
Well, you need to stay ready. Perhaps they'll give you a call if they keep withdrawing.
They want me to broadcast the game?
Rapid rate. Yeah. Fair. In other NBA news, the Spurs all-time leader in points, rebounds, and block shots is going to add another title to his resume. Tim Duncan is returning to the bench as an assistant coach. And of course, in classic Pop fashion, head coach Greg Popovich said, "It's only fitting that after I served loyally for 19 years as Tim Duncan's assistant, that he returns the favor." Your thoughts on this move by your former franchise?
I think for all the guys that's getting a chance to play for the Spurs or get a chance to learn, obviously, from one of the greatest coaches ever in Greg Popovich, now you have probably the greatest power forward and the greatest teammate and maybe the easiest superstar that ever played in the NBA that can be coached. I'm just scratching my head. Does Tim Duncan really want to do this grind out day in and day out? I'm looking forward to this. I think it's fantastic for the league. You have one of your all-time greats being able to take assistant coaching role. But I'm also looking, because I kind of know Pop, and you know Pop as well, probably going to get thrown out one game, and let's see if Tim gets that hot seat really early.
Do you think perhaps this says something about the future, the direction they're headed in?
Yeah, I think Pop, obviously, we know his time has to come to an end, and it was great that he signed his extension. But I think now Pop will be still coaching as hard, trying to win games. But I think he's also preparing who's next, whether that's Tim, whether that's somebody else. I think Pop is starting to get a chance to hand over the reins to someone else.
Well, in the Eastern Conference, Wizards owner Ted Leonsis acknowledged to NBC Sports earlier this week that All-Star point guard John Wall probably won't play this season. He continues to recover from an Achilles injury he suffered earlier this year, and he's set to be the team's highest paid player as his Supermax extension kicks in this season. What does this say not only for Wall's recovery, but perhaps for the Wizards moving forward?
And I think, looking at John Wall and knowing how when the injury happened, you start to say a year from now, I think he would probably be ready to go February, March. But why would you want to risk him playing the last 10, 15 games unless there's a season where they have a chance to win a championship? I don't think that's so right now with the Washington Wizards, so I think you let him rest and get totally healed, especially the financial commitment you gave to John Wall. And I think you have a team, especially picking up Isaiah Thomas, hopefully he's healthy, that you can stay afloat until he comes back.
Even if the playoffs were a possibility?
Now, I think that's when the Washington Wizards are saying, we want John Wall to hold out. But then that's when John Wall might kick in his competitiveness that he wants to play in the playoffs. But if they're not in the playoff hunt by February, I think he sits the whole season.
Well, the team does plan to offer Wall's backcourt mate, Bradley Beal, a 3-year extension worth $111 million, according to ESPN. He'll become eligible to sign on Friday, and their general manager, Tommy Shepard, said at the very first moment allowed, we're going to offer Brad the full max extension. Do you like this move, Smitty?
I love it for the Washington Wizards. They are telling Bradley Beal, we want you here. We appreciate everything you do for us on and off the court, because he's huge in that community as well. And also, he's a talented player. They're saying, we don't want it to get to free agency. We want to lock you in now. And obviously, it's up to Bradley Beal. Does he want to continue his career long term because of the years he has left on his contract and take this at max? Or is he looking elsewhere? We'll get a chance to see what Bradley Beal does Friday.
Well, the NBA news keeps coming because Wednesday, right here on NBA TV, we'll have the LA Clippers news conference as Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are officially introduced live at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, from Los Angeles, which brings me to my next question. We've got a handful of pretty exciting Western Conference duos to watch this coming season. My first question, which duo do you think will average the most points?
Christian, come on now. Yeah, James Harden and Russell Westbrook and that offensive D'Antoni where they get a chance to allow to play. Okay. James averaged what, 50 last year? No, 36 last, 36. And you have Russell Westbrook, who will be able to also play in the same style. This duo, in my opinion, for sure will lead as far as duos and points.
Well, when we're taking a look at some of the most exciting duos, if we're considering not only these two guys, but Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, LeBron James and Anthony Davis, of course, who do you think will be the most fun to watch?
I think the most fun, which you got to say / intriguing, would be LeBron James and Anthony Davis.
Squad.
I'm looking forward to watching the continuation of the soap opera in LA, the reality show. It won't end, and not because of these guys, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're the Lakers franchise, and so much is going on, and there's so much about how and how much they gave up for Anthony Davis. Everything is going to be scrutinized. Is Anthony Davis the number one? Is it LeBron the number one? Is Kuzma the number two? Is Kuzma the big three? Who else fills in? And oh, by the way, DeMarcus Cousins is on that team as well, and I think he has a lot to prove. It's going to be fun to watch LeBron and AD.
And considering how long they waited to make their plans this offseason with the hope that Kawhi Leonard would also be in purple and gold. He'll be in town, but not playing for the team. Do you think that perhaps he and PG could rack up those wins?
There's this big mansion in Staples Centers, and LeBron and those guys have a room, and Kawhi and Paul George have a room. They're playing in the same building. It's interesting right now, and I think Kawhi and Paul George, those are the two I think will get the most wins.
Okay, so if any of these duos, well then how do you think that will translate to postseason success? Will perhaps that duo lead the Clippers to a championship in Los Angeles?
I think they have a chance to go along with everybody. We know just not one or two guys win a championship. It's a team, and you talk about a team last year that gave the Warriors a run without these two. And these two even makes these other guys better. It's going to be interesting. And obviously, we got to put it together, and they got to play together. But let's not forget Klay and Steph. They're pretty good when the playoffs start.
They are. I seem to remember those two. When we come back, it was a 3-game Tuesday night in the WNBA. We'll have all your highlights, including the Ogwumike sisters, just a couple of miles from our studio. Don't go away.
He's been getting an earful for the last 10 minutes by Utah, and that's just he knows the score of the game and the shot clock. That's not a flagrant foul, for crying out loud.
Looked like a flagrant foul to me.
Oh, yeah, right.
Trent Berry fouls out 16 points, 11 of which came in the second half. Berry played a nice game.
Played very well. He's full of energy. He was getting loose balls. He's hitting his shot.
Jamon Williams will take his place, and here are the flagrant foul throws by Karl Malone.